Hello fellow old schoolers and welcome to the channel. At the Long Island Cup 3.0 I had a third old camera recording some games, and it has taken me a while, but I have succeeded in making those videos work as well. So yay, more old school content for us to enjoy. This particular match is between Martin and Jocke. He's a player from Sweden. I think he's moved to Denmark at this point and has joined up at the old school scene here. And Jocke is on a deck that he calls the Taxman. Martin is on a Reanimator deck. And I've known Martin for a couple of years, and back in the day he usually played some very strong archetypes like the deck and aggro control, the blue, white and black variant with 70 Befriets and 7 Alliance and stuff like that. But at some point he just felt like he tried that enough and switched it up and went full into the Reanimator archetype. It is a pretty rare archetype, pretty damn expensive to get into at this point in time. So I think he went all in. I think he sold his unlimited Black Lotus to get there, and a lot of those beta stables he had used for the deck and aggro control. So yeah, just really made the spicy train work here. And it is a debut on this channel for the Reanimator deck. So we'll go over that for a quick bit here, and after that we'll take a dip into Jocke's Taxman. And as usual, I'll put down a timestamp below. If these deck techs are not your thing, you can go to that particular timestamp for the first match itself. So this is Martin's Reanimator deck here. It's blue, red and green, and the key card in this particular brew is those Bazaar of Baghdad, and also this is also the card that makes it really difficult to put together this particular archetype. So it is a key component of this deck. It works well that you can tap it and then you draw 2 cards and then you have to discard 3 cards. And I remember back in the day we usually hated this card. We didn't really, or I didn't really see what was the bloody point of it. I mean, you'd lose the damn cards immediately. But that's because this particular brew likes to play with a huge graveyard here. So it wants a bunch of creatures in that graveyard. The Bazaar of Baghdad also works well with the Sylvan Library, as we see here, because the Sylvan Library lets you look at the top 3 cards, and then you can use the Bazaar to just after you've used the Sylvan Library to get the cards you don't want into the graveyard, like big fat creatures, and put whatever is not that in your hand. And then you can draw with the Sylvan Library a brand new 3 cards the turn after that, if that makes sense. And once you put down a bunch of big creatures into the graveyard, you can start to make a bunch of tricks with them. The most obvious one being the Animate Dead, to get the big creature right back into play for only 2 mana. It will lose 1 in power though, but that's usually worth it when you have a big one. And there's the other key component of this particular brew is the All Hallows Eve, and we see it here. And yeah, that is a card that it has counters on it, and those counters will slowly count down to 0. That it gets 2 counters when you put it out, and once each upkeep of the controller of All Hallows Eve, it will lose 1 of those counters. And once it hits 0, all the creatures in all the graveyards will get back out. So we see immediately that it actually resembles Eureka a bit. Where Eureka play the creatures from your hand. Both players will get free creatures from your hand, and we've seen the Eureka archetype a bunch on this channel already, but this one plays them from the graveyard instead, and that can make it even more overwhelming, because you can obviously have way more than 7 cards in your graveyard. So that's the trick. You'll likely try to set that up, get a huge graveyard, get the Animate Deads out for some early poking and early punches, and to defend yourself, and then at some point you'll get the All Hallows Eve, there'll be the countdown, and then you'll overwhelm the other guy, because he'll only have puny small creatures out of his graveyard, and you'll get a bunch of big ones out yourself. It is fully powered, except for that Black Lotus I mentioned previously. That is lacking here, but it's not a big deal. It just makes room for another card, because he doesn't try to be really fast here or to mana fix himself. It's more like a setup combo deck, this one. We also have a Concordant Crossroads from green, so that we can get some huge punches in with those creatures immediately. And then we have this huge creature base here with 4 Triskelions, a couple of Tetravus. Then we have Singia Vampires and a Solkanada Swamp King and freaking 3 Nicol Bolas. Look at that. As a debut on this channel as well, to see Nicol Bolas in a tournament deck. I adore this. I played with him when I was a kid. I love this creature. 7/7 flying, and if it gets in, the opponent has to discard his entire hand. But I mean, you can't really hard cast it or seldom. But here you can get it out with Animate Deaths or with those All Hallows Eve. Yeah, I'm a bit surprised that, I mean, he has a Time Twister as well, and that surprised me when I saw this, because I would imagine that he wanted to have a big graveyard, as big as possible, and the Time Twister will put the graveyard back in, but I suppose it makes you draw 7 more cards, so I guess that's the function of it. We also have the Wheel of Fortune, which I find less surprising, because you discard cards into your graveyard when you cast Wheel of Fortune, so you can cast it early and then discard a bunch of creatures and draw 7 new cards, hopefully getting an Animate Dead or something like that. To get the most scary creature of your recently discarded hand straight out onto the battlefield. And this spicy brew of cardboard is rounded off with 3 Dark Rituals to ramp out those big creatures, a single regrowth and a recall and a balance. Then we have a fireball for a late game finisher and an earthquake to get rid of small critters, I imagine, just to survive the early game. So that is one of the 2 battling wizards here. He's coming up against our very own Swedish Jocke with his Taxman deck. Let's take a peek at that. Jocke's Taxman deck is an odd brew. It's an amalgamation I've never seen before, but it looks pretty spicy. It's blue and white with the Uncolor Moxen and Ancestral Recall and Time Walk for power. And I think the key component of this deck are those 4 land taxes right there. Now Jocke, he wrote me an email and told me that the main strategy of this deck was to get a land tax out as quickly as possible, and then kind of wait for the other guy to deploy more lands than the Taxman has. And then he will search for 2 islands and a plains, and he will use that to try and get one of the big beaters out, like the Serendip Djinn, and to protect that investment with counter magic. And I suppose that the Serendip Djinn's drawback is circumvented by that land tax, because you can just search for more plains to feed into it, and the more lands you destroy, well, at some point you'll have fewer lands than the opponent and you can activate the land tax again. So it becomes a rather cheap 5/6 flyer that way. He can also have a bunch of small weenie creatures like the Mesa Pegasus, the Savannah Lions and the Flying Men, and he can use those to defend himself in the early game against aggro, or put pressure on the opponent from the opening game if it's a slower build-up, slower opponent, and then he'll function fine with just a few mana and sort of force the opponent to deploy more lands to handle the weenie creatures, so that he can activate the land tax. There are aggro control elements in this deck, as we have a counterspell and a mana drain to protect the creatures, and 3 Swords to Plowshares and 3 Disenchants. We also have a main deck Spirit Link. I suspect that's against burn, and you can just put that on one of your creatures and gain life when it does damage. It's also a fine out against Jusum Jins and Serendip Ifrit. And then we have a side thing here with a couple of Sushis and a Juggernaut and copy artifacts, just to put that in there for additional mid-range creatures here. And then we have 4 Sonic Blasts. 2 of them are altered to resemble like blue blood moons here, so that's why they look a bit different. And here's his sideboard: 4 Energy Fluxen, 3 blue Elemental Blasts, a single Triskelion, a couple of Armageddons, another counterspell to further amp up the control magic, a 4th Swords to Plowshare and a balance, and we have that King Suleiman against, I guess, Serendip Ifrits and Jusum Jins and stuff like that. Urnam Jins as well. Kind of spicy take on it, but I really like that. I guess the Armageddons will have served him well in this tournament because there are so many Maces of Ith, but in this particular matchup I don't expect them to be put in. But those Energy Fluxen and the control magic seems like very, very nice additions after sideboard. Let's get ready for the matchup. And we have Martin's Reanimator deck on the left here, and Jocke's Taxman on the right. There's a mulligan here out of the Reanimator deck. We'll cut a bit forward while he gets a new hand. can see his hand here. Ah, another mulligan though. That's pretty damn brutal. Going down to 5 cards. I wonder who's on the play here. It is a bit of a card disadvantage straight from the first round here. I don't know what round of the Swiss this is, but it's likely at the tail end. But these guys are not competing for a top 8 spot as far as I remember. Somewhere in the middle table, I think. Okay, going down to 5 cards. Okay, that's a strip mine, an altered strip mine with a white knight running amok on it. Pretty weird first play. He must be a bit mana starved, right? Colorless mana here. Okay, that's an underground sea. Perhaps he tried to bait lane destruction? I don't know. Oh, that's an altered island there. I wonder where that's from. Probably a tournament he's been in, Jocke. Oh, Silver Library coming out of the Reanimator. That's good for him. Now he can try to get some soft card advantage by making some better draws. Yeah, he can also sacrifice 4 life to gain another card. Okay, there's an Animate Dead, a Triskelion, and a Workshop, and he chose to take the Workshop here. Get some more mana out. Ooh, there's a Bazaar Baghdad though. He uses it immediately, drawing 2 cards. Oh yeah, so now I can sack that Triskelion. I mentioned that in the deck tech, this combination with the Silver Library and the Bazaar Baghdad. We see it in play here. So, yeah, taking 2 cards, discarding 3. One of them was definitely that Triskelion, now animating it from another card after that Silver Library draw. So Triskelion getting straight out here. It's only a 3/4, but it has it can shoot for 3 times with those counters, getting -1/-1 for each shot. So, Undead Robot, I suppose. However, that makes sense. Let's see how the taxman will react to this. His township is coming under siege from the undead here. Need to do something. A Tundra coming out. Okay. Copying the Triskelion. As a response, it looks like, yeah, he shoots the other guy for 2, and then the Triskelion shoots itself for 1. So the copy artifact fizzles because there are no other artifact targets here. And I think, yeah, there's a long discussion here. I think Martin is of the opinion that the copy artifact will remain in play as just a blue enchantment with no target. I do believe it would fizzle because we had this same problem in another game on this channel, namely, I think it was it was one of the matches in the top 8 between Composition A and what's it called, Trollbox, where I disenchanted. I think anyway. I think the copy artifact should fizzle here, but these guys discuss it a bit. It is a minor thing, but I guess otherwise it will get back into the hand after a Time Twister if it is put into the graveyard, and it can be recalled, I suppose. I think they end up with just putting the copy artifact out, but I do think that's a mistake. I do think it will fizzle. But yeah, you can. If anyone knows, you can let me know in the comment section if this is indeed true, that it will stay out in play as just a kind of useless blue enchantment here. Okay, using the Silver Library again. Now getting the Workshop out. Oh, he can hardcast one of... Yeah, he can hardcast another robot here. Triskelion coming out, 3/3. But it made sense, I mean, just to shoot the other guy and shoot yourself when there's a copy on it. Oh, that's a Sorcerer Plowshare. So I guess he'll shoot the other guy for 2 and then shoot himself for 1. Yeah, he does so here. He does this in order to make sure that the Triskelion gets into the graveyard. Sushi coming out of the text main here. Counter robots on the march. So far the Textman has used the white removal to foil any attempt of aggression out of the Reanimator deck, and then counterpunched himself with a Sushi here. But Reanimator has that combination going with Silver Library and Bazaar Baghdad, and that's like a snowballing advantage here. Yeah, now choosing to get a Tetravus out of that combination. Gets the damn good card each round, and can use the Bazaar Baghdad just to dig further down after he's used the Silver Library to just choose 3 new cards each turn. Ooh, that's a Blood Moon Sonic Blast also there. So, blue removal here. Now Spirit Linking the Sushi and coming in for 4, healing up 4. That's a spicy punch in here. Very nice. So yeah, can Reanimator weather the storm? Will that combination save his bacon? Oh, he chooses to keep a card here, taking 4 points of damage, drawing not 1 but 2 cards from that Sylvan library. One of them was a regrowth, I think. Now he can regrowth something. He doesn't have the mana to cast a robot. He has used the Underground Sea, otherwise he could have regrowthed an Animate Dead, I suppose. Okay, now using the Chaos Orb, using the Workshop to cast a Chaos Orb, activating the Chaos Orb, trying to destroy the Spirit-Linked Sushi. Let's see if it hits here. It will... Oh yeah, it does so here. In slow motion. Otherwise the other guy would gain 4 life each turn and Reanimator would take 4 points of damage each turn. You can't have that going for long before it's curtain call. So, pretty damn crucial. Back to square one here. Both guys squaring off against each other. Taxman has advantage in life, but the other guy has advantage in the quality of his draws here. Now Triskelion getting disenchanted immediately, shooting at the other guy for 3 damage as it goes back to the graveyard. A lot of creatures in that graveyard already. I wonder if we'll see a Nicol Bolas out in this game. I really want... that's one in a Demonic Tutor, but he can't cast a Nicol Bolas. I really want to see him get in at some point. I've never seen that since I was a kid. Ooh, Travis coming out, an immediate disenchant here. White removal, man. It's so good. That's a fun little horsey though. 1-1, banding and flying. Yeah, and the other guy can pick between a Nicol Bolas and a bunch of lanes. Choosing the bad lanes here. Now Tutor. Yeah, he can't choose it for Ancestral Recall and play it because he doesn't have another blue mana and he needed to use that Underground Sea for the black mana source. Found it here, passing the turn to Taxman, who gets in with the pony. Now, here comes another white weenie creature here. Ooh, Svenneline, then a Time Walk. White weenie. So shifting gears here, the Taxman now strip mining the workshop so the other guy can't get his artifacts out, and now punching in for 3 points of damage with the small weenie creatures here. Now going the aggro route suddenly instead of the control route. Oh, there's the Ancestral Recall, probably the tutor target out of Reanimator. So, and he, okay, there's the Animate Dead. What will he pick? Probably a Triskelion. Yeah, here we go. We can just shoot down the opposing weenie creatures if he wants to at any point in time. So the battle rages back and forth here. Now advantage Reanimator here. Using the City of Brass for Dark Ritual. Oh, and that's the All Hallows Eve. Countdown has begun. We need a disenchant out of the other guy or it'll be mayhem in a few moments. Shooting down the opposing creatures here with the Triskelion. I mean, they will get back by that from that All Hallows Eve, but it doesn't really matter. And yeah, he keeps one counter back on. Well, there's his creatures. Yeah, he keeps a counter back on the Triskelion, and I imagine that he will shoot himself at the end step just before the countdown for the All Hallows Eve. Get into the graveyard and get back into play. If Martin is aware of this little trick, he would be, right. He's played this archetype for a long time. Getting in here. It would be a 2-2, but it's only a 1-2 here because there's an Animate Dead on it. So, attacking with a 1-2 Triskelion. The other guy chooses to take it. He could block, but he would lose the Pegasus and it will get back the next turn. I suppose he wants to get a punch in with the Pegasus instead. Yep, does so here. Punching in for 1. Makes sense, the other guy is down to 6 points of life here. He needs to kill him before... Yeah, now the Triskelion shoots itself just before, at the end step of the other guy. Then All Hallows Eve triggers and get ready for a bunch of creatures here. It is the All Hallows Eve. All the undeads are coming out to play. Look at this. Weren't there Nicol Bolas as well? Probably not. I would have adored that though. Still, 2 Triskelions, 2 Sinker Vampires, and 2 Travis against a Svenneline, 2 players of Pegasus, a Pegasi, and a Sushi. A pretty uneven matchup here at this point. Overwhelming power from the Reanimator deck, making the combination work here. all out attack out of the taxman. Yeah, he needs to end this here, or he will die the next turn. But yeah, all the critters gets gunned down by the Triskelion. The Sushi gets blocked by the reduced Triskelion here. Sacrificing the Triskelion to not take any damage. What do we have? Another Pegasus getting out. Another, just a, I suppose he can just shoot it down with his own Triskelion, right? So that's Sylvan Library, Bazaar Baghdad combination really came into effect here. Here he comes for 16 points of damage, flying over the head of that Sushi. I believe, yep, that is game. 1-0 for Reanimator, punching in here with a huge flying army of Tetravus and Singa Vampires, making his combination work in the first game here. So we'll let these guys sideboard and go into the second round here. Likely Reanimator would put in his... He had Glooms in his sideboard, that could be nice. And he has some Red Blasts, I suppose. They will be okay as well against counter magic and copy artifacts. The other guy, as previously mentioned, likely a few Energy Fluxen just to delay the other guy. And a control magic would be kind of awesome against all those big fat creatures that will get out of the graveyard. It could be nice to, I mean, take a Singa Vampire or a Tetravus with all its counters on it or something like that. So that will be my prediction for sideboard, but we'll see if that holds true. Let's brace for impact as these guys go head to head in round number 2. We can see a Gloom here, a Mox Sapphire and a Swamp, and a Fireball. Ooh, Mox Pearl straight into a land tax out of the tax main, so not even a single land drop. He's bound to get an activation, I think. That's the Swamp, yep. So Reanimator has one more land than the other guy. Ooh, that's a Dark Ritual straight into a Gloom here. Brutal first opening out of the Reanimator, really putting the dampener on the tax main. All white spells will cost an extra 3 mana, but the land text got out before that and gets activated here. 2 islands and a plains, getting picked by Jocke here. Okay, so he should be mana fixed at this point. He is a land drop behind, so that was a sacrifice he had to make happen here. But the Mox Pearl into a land text was a pretty nice opener. That's the Sapphire. That's the Bazaar Baghdad. Ooh, enters a recall out of the tax main here, pulling ahead in card advantage here. Now a Chaos Orb coming out. He can activate the land text again, actually. There's 2 lanes, but looks like he chooses not to, the tax main. Perhaps he has all the lanes he needs, and he'll likely have to discard a bunch of lanes. Ooh, Energy Flux coming out here. Yeah, he likely had to sacrifice a bunch of lanes, discard a bunch of lanes if he, because he has cast Insistent Recall straight out of a lane text activation. Okay, at the upkeep of the other guy, he activates the Chaos Orb before he has to pay for the Energy Flux. Oh, whoa. Oh, it didn't hit though. That's a miss. Wow. Okay, the Energy Flux survives, and now he can't pay for his Sapphire, and the Sapphire goes into the graveyard. Really, both players really delayed here, activating the Bazaar Baghdad to get some more draws in. Just cutting 3 cards. With a Gloom and an Energy Flux out on the table. Yeah, now Taxman has to pay for his Pearl here, has to remember this if he wants to keep it. Has to do so before he draws. Yeah, it does so here. Yeah, so with a Gloom and an Energy Flux now, I suspect this game will be delayed quite a bit. Really, a lot of extra costs for the cards, and Moxen will be of no use in this game. And we know Reanimator, he can't really remove enchantments except for that Chaos Orb. So yeah, they're there to stay. Strip Mine, Mox Sapphire coming out. Ooh, another Flux. Talk about a death grab here. And on top of that, it even seems like he's very mana starved. Reanimator, Strip Mine, Tutor. But I suppose he's discarding so many cards into the graveyard from that Bazaar Baghdad each turn. So if he can sneak out an All Hallows Eve and dodge Disenchants, I suppose that will make it work. He can still circumvent all those energy flux, and he can circumvent all the mana cost of those creatures if he can just get that All Hallows Eve out. So now it's just draw go. Gloom, energy flux, and really locking the game down here. A lot of mana out of the Taxman though, but we see it's a bit of a standstill, tranquil moment of the battle here. Enchantments, making sure that both players has to amass a lot of mana, non-artifact mana, to get anything out. And the Gloom obviously also puts a tax on those white weenie creatures, though he can play 1-drops and 2-drops at this point. Either Taxman hasn't drawn them, or he just keeps back with some counter magic, watching the other guy. Now he might get. Yeah, he's considering something here. I think you should try to get some creatures down. It is a good opportunity here while the other guy is mana starved so much. I imagine there's probably a bunch of Moxen in that graveyard as well out of the Reanimator. Okay, discarding a Spirit Link though, because so much of his mana is artifact based, and now they can't be used because of those energy flux. Activating the Bazaar Baghdad here. Oh, as a so kind of a Swarm King and 2 Nicol Bolas going into the graveyard here. not getting hard casted anytime soon. Oh, Animate dead. So I suppose, yeah, the Sul'Kanar will probably get out. Oh, counterspell though, because he can't pay the upkeep for Nicol Bolas. He doesn't have red and blue mana. So I bet the Sul'Kanar is the target for those Animate deads as quickly as possible. Now drawing 2 cards, digging for a land, and discarding creatures into the graveyard here. Nothing comes out. That's amazing. Brutal mana starvation. I think the energy fluxion. Yeah, he has to discard a Rux Ruby here. I think the energy fluxion really annoys him. Tiger coming out though. It's a bit surprising that Taxman can't get any creatures out. He needs some little creatures to poke the other guy while he can. Oh, Sylvan Library coming out. Now we have that combination with the Bazaar Baghdad and Sylvan Library going, oh, but not for long, disenchanting it. At the end step of Reanimator, now it's the turn of Taxman. Another plane's coming out, passing the turn right back. Okay, Animate dead one more time, another attempt here. Still can't pay for the Nicol Bolas upkeep, so taking the Sul'Kanar, the Swamp King here. Discussing something, I don't know. Okay, Sul'Kanar hits the table, starts to Plowshares. That could have been the discussion. So getting 4 life here, because Sul'Kanar had -1 in power from that Animate dead. So yeah, just blocking his every attempt here. So activating the Bazaar Baghdad one more time. I actually think that he sandbags a few lanes. Ooh, another Gloom. Just total shutdown. Is there a counterspell here? I was about to say, I think a Reanimator is sandbagging hands in order to discard them with his Bazaar Baghdad. He can't have gone so far into his deck without drawing more lanes than this. So I think that that's the plan. Ooh, Sonic blasting him at his end step here. I think that he's sticking for that All Hallows Eve and just amassing a huge graveyard. I think that's the play. Otherwise, he's like crazy unlucky if that isn't the case. It's a bit annoying that we can't see his graveyard. It is because this camera angle is smaller than what I usually run, because it's that old camera phone. Just an extra way to do it here to get even more games on the channel. So using the Bazaar again as a single card in hand. Okay, playing a City of Brass here and passing the turn. Two Glooms up against him. If this is a white spell, it's gonna be Really expensive. There's a sushi though. It will require payment. Oh, Ancestor Recall. I think that's a mana drain on it. Okay, blocking the Ancestor Recall. Oh, and Time Walking here. So he's gotta pay 4 mana for that sushi because of the Entity Fluxen. He should do it here. Okay, Martin reminds him. Paying 4 mana, then getting in with the sushi for 4 points of damage here. Now strip mining the City of Brass. Okay, so there's a punch in here. Now can the Reanimator make his combination work before that sushi runs him over? That's the question. He needs an All Hallows Eve. Oh, there we go. Okay, he's moving in. He can't delay it anymore. All Hallows Eve getting out. So there's 2 counters on it. The sushi can attack twice. That's 8 points of damage if there's no answer against it or a blocker. Yep, here we go. So he'll be down to 7 life again once that All Hallows Eve triggers. Now if the other guy can disenchant it, if he has the mana for it, no he doesn't. There's 2 glooms against him. He can't even disenchant it. Okay, next round. Sushi coming in again, I imagine. If you could recall his Time Walk, I mean, a desert coming out. Another way to handle little critters. Won't be worth much in this matchup. Getting in for 4 again. Putting the Reanimator deck down to 7 points of life here. And now the All Hallows Eve triggers here. Let's see what gets out. We got Nickel Boys. I imagine one of them have, yeah, there can only be one legendary creature here. So, and unfortunately the Soul Canal has been Swords to Plowshare, but we have a Sinker Vampire, Triskelion, Nickel Bolas, and another Sinker Vampire, and 2 to Travis. And there's a Time Twister. Now, at the deck tech, I was pretty surprised that he played with it, but it makes sense here, I suppose, because I think he's running out of library with all those draws from his Basaf Baghdad. So it is a way to get more stuff into his deck right after that All Hallows Eve. And he can also get his usual spells into the deck here. All the creatures has been siphoned out of that graveyard into the playing field. Now this is doom and gloom for the tax mine here. He needs to draw something incredible to survive. Next turn, I can't even. 7. Yeah, he'll be dead next turn. Ancestor Recall here. I mean, the Nickel Bolas, 2 Sinker Vampires, and 2 to Travis will just fly over that sushi, and Triskelion can even shoot on top. It's 26 points of damage just from that attack, without the Triskelion attacking. So, yeah. Tasman Sonic blasts him one more time, putting him down to 3 points of life here. Now sacking the sushi. Doesn't want to pay the upkeep for it. Or I suppose the other guy will have difficulties paying for all his stuff. Actually, he'll have to sack one of the Travis and his Triskelion. Soldering with 2 Anti-Fluxen. I think this smells. This could be a balance play or something. That would be pretty damn epic. I mean, why would you play Mox and Soldering at this point with 2 Anti-Fluxen otherwise? He's trying to empty his hand. Copying the Soldering? Seems... And then 4, 6... Yeah, okay. Then playing the balance through the 2 glooms. That's incredible. Too bad, in a way, because I'd like to see that Nickel Bolas get in, but I mean, the game continues here, balancing away. I suppose the Taxman has to... Oh, there's a Earthquake and a bunch of mana on the hand of Reanimator. He had to discard his entire hand. The Earthquake wasn't worth much, being down to 3 points of life himself. And Taxman has to discard a bunch of lanes here as well, and he has done so already. Next turn he'll lose all his artifact mana. Okay, so back to square one. 3 points of life left on Reanimator. Demonic Tutor here. Wonder what he'll pick. Could be another Animate Dead. He barely has enough mana to play for a Nickel Bolas actually. No, Time Walk. Oh, okay, there's the Animate Dead. Okay, that could have been the tutor target, actually, instead of the Time Walk. Oh, there's the Nickel Bolas. Hey-ho. And you can pay for the upkeep here. Oh, and Concordant Crossroads, he likely wanted to play that in a different sequence, but the other guy allows it. So, Nickel Bolas gets in. That's discounting the Spirit Link and an Energy Flux in the lane. The Spirit Link was a pretty good pick. Okay, another new thing on the channel. Nickel Bolas getting in in a tournament game. Putting Taxman down to 7 points of life. Discarding and saying, ooh, there's a Sendip Jin though. And he has to pay the upkeep for that Nickel Bolas, actually. Another Animate Dead. Yeah, the other guy. Yeah, okay. Jocke suddenly realizes here that he could have attacked with that Sendip Jin because there's a Concordant Crossroads out. Okay, I listened to the conversation here, and these guys, Martin thought that was pretty unfair for the other guy, so they're going down to a Chaos Orb flip instead. Yeah, as a way to have the result of this particular round. So it's an overdose of old school Magic spirit here, where Martin wouldn't allow a misplay like this, because both are probably pretty tipsy at this point. He wouldn't allow a misplay like this to influence the game too much. So instead they'll settle their score with a Chaos Orb flip. Nickel Bolas will be the target here. They have drawn their chosen weapon. So this will determine the result of the second match here. So if Reanimator wins this flip off, he wins the entire match. And that's the first hit out of, yeah, score 1-0. And another hit from Reanimator here. 1-1. First miss. It just bounces off the dragon there. Let's see if Reanimator can finish the job. And he does so here. So Reanimator wins the Chaos Orb flip. It's 2-0 in this tournament match between these players. That's the first on this channel as well. A recorded tournament match decided by a Chaos Orb flip off. So yeah, we have had a bunch of debuts on this channel, from the Reanimator deck to a hit with a Nickel Bolas in a tournament game, and now a Chaos Orb flip off. And I've never seen a deck like Tax Main either. So yeah, pretty damn fun. Really dig these decks. They're kind of cool, both of them. Yeah, so Reanimator wins this 2-0, and we'll be back with more old school matches as soon as possible. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.